Why is it that I literally can't go 5 steps without seeing a picture of Putin?
Around here, and that you control the flow of drugs around.
No, that's wrong, man. That's wrong.
First ever form of documentary was way back in the 1900s when simple events would be filmed, and this was all it was. Some not even making a menacing length. Things such as a person sneezing or a train leaving a station was just how basic it began. It wasn't until the 1920s when the actual term documentary was first used, and it was referred to before this as actual film. Nanook of the North was the first ever documentary made, and this was in 1922. This documentary was about the indigenous people of Quebec, which is a very isolated and cold part of Canada. This documentary followed the lives of these people and their search for food, travel and trading in such a remote place. This being the first ever proper full-length documentary, it had high hopes and a lot of expectation. It lived up to these expectations and was highly rated, being rated as a 7.7 out of 10 on well-established review site IMDb. This show contains no form of talking as it is a silent documentary. The documentary followed the lives of an indigenous man and his family and the things he must do in order to survive. The first major event to take place was way back in 1877, when Edward Muybridge discovers sequential photographs, which was the basic starting point when documentaries started out as simply as showing horses in motion. It was a couple years later when he went on to discover the zoopraxiscope, which is a mechanism made to enhance and animate his photography. Events such as a man sneezing also came a little later on in video format. It wasn't until in 1895, however, when the first public screening took place. This was in the French capital of Paris. This was by Auguste and Louis Lumière. Later on in time, in 1919, Russian filmmaker decides that there shall be a new form of cinema which documents real life. He believed that the future of cinema should be truthful rather than fiction. Within the 1920s, a group of European film producers decided to start experimenting by adding together filming techniques as well as editing to make things more interesting and take things further. Then it was 1922 when the first actual feature-length documentary was released, Nanook of the North. This included a lot of different techniques and styles, third-person narration and subjective tone, and was produced by Robert J. Flaherty. In 1926, a young Scottish student named John Greeson wrote a review for another one of Robert's titles called Moana. It was in this review where the term documentary was first established. In the 1950s to 1960s, young new filmmakers from around the globe decided to put new technology of handheld cameras to work and change the nature of documentaries. In 1965, technology took a large step which would only help documenters. Sony released a half-inch videotape recorder. However, it wasn't until the 1980s, which then led to the first handheld camcorder by Sony, which became a useful bit of equipment for producers. A few years later on, in 1999, the Blair Witch Project grossed over a whopping $100 million in the United States alone. These historical moments are the majority of the most influential dates within documentary history. They cover up until the 2000s, which are when the majority of breakthroughs came through for documentation. Within documentaries themselves, there are different types which categorise them. Let's have a look at them. Poetic documentary. Very creative way of documenting and opens up a new way for filmmakers. These types of productions are very audio-based, like tone and rhythm. These videos are edited and arranged together to make the sounds match and reflect the video. Expository documentary. This type of documentary is where it holds an argument or point of view in which it wants to show to its audience. A common convention of these documentaries is to have someone with a stern yet authoritative voice which helps to convey the message to the audience. These documentaries are factual. Observation documentary are self-explanatory and aim to observe something. These documentaries help people to gain an opinion of something. They often have access to really important material or information within its subject. For example, some unseen footage in a Bob Marley documentary, for example. participatory documentary tends to involve the filmmaker's opinion and point of view, and this is reflected throughout their input. Reflexive documentary. These documentaries, they also tend to involve the filmmakers in the narrative, however they don't focus on any other topic, other than its own production and how it was made. They do not incorporate any other subjects. They often reflect on important things and often educate their audience. And the last of the 6, performative documentary. The last one is a hybrid, as it combines various different styles and is an experiment as such. These documentaries often include some form of personal experience or issue. A good example of this is Roger and Me, where Michael Moore tries to tackle and get behind why General Motors closed factories, putting 35,000 people out of work. It was in his hometown of Michigan, and this is where the personal element comes to play. In the left-hand side clip, this is Planet Earth, which shows a herd of caribou being hunted down by a pack of wolves. And in the right-hand side clip, we have a nest of snakes trying to consume and capture an iguana. The first instant comparison that stands out is the quality difference. Both videos are from the same channel or in the same format. The Planet Earth 2 clip is by far the better looking clip with much better quality visuals due to camera quality advances. The second comparison that is evident is the camera angles and just how close up the camera can get. These two changes come from the camera technology and equipment technology which happened in the 10 years apart between the two clips. Another comparison which is very noticeable is the audio clarity as well as the sound clarity, such as the band who do the soundtrack and music. The Planet Earth 2 audio is so much clearer and the Planet Earth original is grainy compared to. Another advantage that the Planet Earth 2 clip has over the original is the editing side of things. The editing is so clean and the timings are spot on. The editing has been thought about and looked at very closely. The original has good editing, but the second is just that extra bit better. New editing software, programs and updates have made this so. In comparison, the hands down winner is the Planet Earth 2 clip. This is due to time and evolution. All of these progresses have made it possible for Planet Earth 2 to be so special.